Before we get started with Jerry's wonderful presentation, I've been asked by someone to, if possible, delay Jerry's presentation just a little bit to give her time to get here. No. Any guesses as to who? Does it start with the letter B? She asked Jack to record it just in case she didn't get here. You hear that, Barbara? We're waiting for you. Okay.
Can we say puns in the meantime? Is that
sorry?
It? Are we allowed puns in the meantime?
Puns in the meantime?
That's increasing, that's encouraging bad behavior.
What, puns
are? Rewarding.
No,
she's working.
Rewarding bad behavior by
that's...
everybody waiting.
She's working. But I told her we would do Q&A before Jerry's presentation instead of after. Because Jerry said his presentation is fairly flexible. We're not going to take too long. I'm not going to wait till 8 o'clock or anything.
Yeah, well, I have something. That's not a question.
But before we get there...
oh, now you're stalling more.
No, I had another issue of business.
Okay.
How many people got the email about the possible date/location change?
We all did.
I didn't.
David, I don't want to hear it.
Well, he deliberately didn't send it to you.
I know. If there's anything confrontational, I never get it.
Excuses not knowing how to use your email is not a good one, David.
No, I get so much email, a lot of it gets into the junk filter, and I deliberately look for certain things.
Oh, okay. See, it's a good thing I stalled a little bit because we have more people coming.
Yay!
We waited for you.
Two of our key people. Ah, yes.
Oh.
Well,
how you doing?
Just again.
My youth, he's in there.
Good. You have one more.
You beat Maryland good.
Chips and salsa. And I'm famous for my chips. Well, my
But not so much your salsa, or what?
Is this a 3 or 4 course series when we're stalling?
what?
Is this going to be a 3 or 4 course series when we add the stalling?
Hey, do you want me? Oh, never mind.
Jerry said he's flexible.
Okay.
So I'm going to take him at his word.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so before we get into Q&A, everybody got the email about having the November meeting either on the first Thursday but at the South Glen Library, because I couldn't get here, or the second Thursday here. So,
Do the second.
who votes for South Glen? Okay, that's what I thought. Who votes for November 9th?
Well, I'm in the majority for once. That's fair.
Jack doesn't seem to care one way or another. I'm not a member.
So?
Yes, you are. You're here tonight.
So?
You've become a member.
There's really no members here.
Yeah.
Just people who show up.
You show up more than once a year, you're a member.
So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
I gotta see what I got November 9th.
Oh, well.
I'm gonna do it anyway.
We don't have a presentation yet. It's just I couldn't get this location for whatever reason. I don't know what's going on. What did you bring?
chips and salsa.
Chips and salsa. Good grief. Okay, so we'll do a quick Q&A.
I said I prefer chocolate.
And then we'll do Jerry's presentation. And if he has time left over at the end, we'll do a Q&A of OneNote. So who has any general questions?
Well, listen, I don't have a general question, but...
Well, then what are you talking for?
He's helping you stall.
Because I'm helping you stall. My backup hard drive died on me to show you that backup systems can die. It's possible.
Okay, well, yeah, that's true.
And that's why you should test your backup systems every once in a while to make sure they're still alive.
And how do you test them?
And make sure you have more than one backup.
Well, I kind of fly by the seat of my
And
pants.
Chris has a good point. When you do backups, assuming you do backups,
Yeah. What's that?
whatever you back up to, periodically attempt to restore from it. Now, some people say, well, wait a minute, I don't want to wipe my hard drive out by restoring from my backup. If you're doing backups, you can restore individual files if you're using a backup program. You can launch your program and restore individual files.
If you got a good backup system.
if you got a good backup program.
Gonna sit together with your friends.
But if you are doing image backups and, you know, creating just one
I just finished.
giant image and you don't have a program that allows you to extract individual files, you can't test it without wiping out your entire hard drive.
Well,
And if it doesn't work, you failed.
actually, you
Double
can.
failed.
You can. You can go into the archive and pull out a folder.
I just said, if you're using an image backup program that does not allow you to pull out individual files, you can't do it.
Then buy another program because that one.
Well, that's what he started out, get a good
Why
backup
don't you
program.
listen to what I'm saying instead of thinking of what you want to say?
Because mine doesn't have
And you'll
that.
understand what I'm saying.
Because he's trying to help you stall.
Because
No,
I'm also half
He's just
deaf,
being
too.
Chris.
No, actually, I'm half deaf now.
What's a good
Well,
backup
let's get the
program?
other half.
So, when backups fail, ugly things can happen. So it's a good idea to have multiple locations.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
If you want to test the legibility of your backup before Chris finishes his story, can't you take your backup and restore it to a third external hard drive just to see if it reads
That's a
right?
possibility.
Because
If the
you
software
can't
will allow
boot it
that.
from the
If it's
third
not
drive.
an image,
I'm sorry, the image. Put the image on.
No.
images won't work to another system. They'll
It
you
won't
have
on
to
a
go back
computer.
on the same system.
It won't arrive at the new system.
Well, yeah, but it won't boot.
I don't want it to boot.
If,
I
well,
just want-
images have to boot. Images aren't true backups.
I just want to make sure that the file that I backed up
Thank you.
will be read all the way to the end,
Okay.
and I think if
But
you
again,
put
with
it
an
on-
image system backup, you can't tell if it was any good when it got to the other hard drive. Because it's an encrypted
I
package.
understand what you're
file.
saying, all I want to do is verify that it's legible, not
You
that
can't
it's
even do that
accurate.
because it's encrypted. You can't even see what's in it.
What you're not understanding is images are only made to go back on the same hardware.
I
There's no good
understand
way
that.
to test it.
I understand
If
that.
it's an image, if it's a good backup program and you can look at 2 or 3 files at a time, then it's simple to do.
I understand that too.
But images are very awkward, and probably a quarter of the people are making images. And that's what he was just...
I know I am. What I wanted to do was see if my image is legible, not that it's accurate.
Okay, but legible, it's only legible with the imaging software that will put it back on your computer. So you cannot restore an image to an external hard drive because it needs to boot to find out if it worked.
And images...
The answer is no.
If they're defective... That's a good flag.
Yeah, the answer is
They're
basically no.
defective. Images are dangerous unless you have a spare computer to check they're
I
good.
understand what everybody's saying.
Even though...
Even though,
You want to be the president?
Oh,
No.
But,
No.
yeah,
What I have done in the past is I have saved a file, and then later on I went to read it, and I discovered that my file was not
was
legible.
corrupted, yeah.
So, if when I had saved my file, I would have said, I want to copy that file over here, it would have blown up and said, I'm not legible.
No.
And then I would have
Yeah.
resaved it.
Image software
Does not
won't know that it's not legible
You share it?
until it attempts to restore
Yeah,
it
we're sharing.
to the machine.
It won't read to the end of file.
It won't restore to an external drive somewhere.
It won't read to the end of file.
It's
It
not.
won't,
It does have.
listen to me,
Okay.
it won't restore
it's
to
good.
an external drive somewhere. It will only restore
To a
to
computer
a
that was
computer
made
hard
from-
drive, like C drive. And you won't know till it's done whether it worked or not. Because it can't tell.
The
At least the
real,
ones I've
real
seen.
question is determining what kind of backup program. If it's a true
No, I
image
understand.
program,
I
What's
understand.
a good
it
backup
will not do what you want it to do.
What's a
I
good
understand.
backup?
Okay.
Whatever one that works.
Now, I just, on backup, one other thing, and I brought this up about every other year. A good friend of mine was doing some repair on his computer, so he made a backup of the computer. Okay, while he was doing repair, he erased everything on the computer. Was that a backup anymore, or was that his only source of data? Oh, that was his only source of data. Now he found out his backup drive was defective. So he lost everything.
Right.
And I'm just saying, just beware, have at least 2 copies.
Here's what I did the last time I worked on my desktop. I had to replace the hard drive.
Yeah.
I was going to replace it with a new solid-state drive. I was going to install my old Windows 7 because I had the CDs for it.
Yeah.
And then I was going to upgrade to Windows 10.
Yeah.
So, I used Mac Preamp Reflect image software, and I did an image of my existing Windows 7, the way it was right now, even though it was having problems,
Yeah.
to an external drive. Then I also created
The word
another image to another external drive.
Yeah.
So I have two separate pieces of hardware. Now, yes, it's theoretically possible they both could have been bad,
Yeah.
but I made sure they both read and write. You know, I could read and write from both of them with regular files before I did anything. Then I took the hard drive out, stored it away, even though it was throwing errors, it would still boot like 8 out of 10 times. Then I put my new hard drive in, installed Windows 7, ran the upgrade to Windows 10, made sure everything's working, installed all my programs from scratch, and then copied my data from my backup onto my new hard drive.
But in effect,
Data was in a separate backup
you had
location.
3
I had 2 full images of the Windows 7 system
and the defective
and
drive.
a backup and the defective drive. I
So
had
you had 3 or 4
I have 4
copies.
copies.
Do you want some?
No thanks. But backup is, as Dick commented, how do you know it's going to work? In fact, you really don't, especially with image backups, you don't know for sure until you attempt to restore them to a bootable drive.
I understand that. There's a difference between being legible and being accurate.
Well, the reason, using the word legible doesn't really work with an encrypted file. Because it's not legible to anything except the software you use to create it.
I disagree.
Okay.
I mean, what do you mean?
Then you have no question.
If you try to
I
look,
have no question.
you're saying in File Explorer, you
I
want
want the file to be,
Withdraw your question.
There's no word legible.
Yeah, legible doesn't track for me. I'm having trouble. But if, let's put it this way: if you do an image, you put it on an external drive, you plug that drive into a working Windows computer and use Windows Explorer or File Explorer to look at it,
yes,
it's nothing.
what time's the weather close?
Because only the software that created it
You have
can
to be
read
out
it.
here by 9.
We have to clean up at 8:45?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to keep moving, but yeah, there's really no easy way to confirm an image is good.
I apologize, Chris.
For what? I'm a master at stalling, and I just proved it.
Okay, any other questions? Somebody else had questions? Meryl?
Spybot, is that worthwhile or use or?
Spybot, I use it every now and then, just, you know, my paranoid meter squeaks a little bit. I'll download it and run it, let it run through and see if it finds any junk, and then I uninstall it. I never
And then-
leave it on my computer.
When you reinstall it, you know, I used to have it on and it's gone, and I went to reinstall it and it's totally different. It came up with a bunch of stuff, you know, something about stuff with registry and all that, and so I ended up uninstalling it.
Well, make sure you're getting Spybot S&D,
Yeah?
and make sure you're going to that guy's website in Germany, wherever that, I can't remember the site. And keep in mind, he may have updated it.
How many third-party virus protection programs do you personally have comfort zone with?
Have what?
What third-party malware programs do you personally like? I've gone away from
Malwarebytes,
Malwarebytes is my only one.
Spybot,
I don't, okay.
Adware.
No.
Trend Micro House Call if you want to run a, you know, if you don't want to install something, but it takes forever.
I love MRT.
Yeah, everybody's got their own favorites. The best antivirus program, as I told Marilyn, is the one that you use and it works. Don't spend $500 on an antivirus program for a home computer. You don't need that much money invested. Get a free one. They all pretty much do the same thing. The fancier ones give you more fine control. I use Windows Defender on every computer I've got, all the computers at our church, all the computers over at the Clemens Lab haven't had a virus.
What'd you say, Windows Defenders?
Yeah, I mean, it's built in.
I use Windows Defender, and every second month I run MRT. And they're
I-
made by Microsoft, and
Yeah, I periodically run Trend Micro House Call if I suspect something might be amiss, but Trend Micro House Call takes too long in reality. I mean, it doesn't let it run overnight. It's really sluggish. Dave?
Just a quick question. Have you heard anything from that guy from software, I think his name, from Microsoft? Nick or
Not a
something?
beat.
Because he sounded really emphatic about
I send him,
feedback.
yeah, I send him emails about the meetings, so I don't,
I was just curious, so you haven't heard anything either?
What he told me didn't work.
what?
What he told me didn't work.
What he told you to do?
What he told me to do to fix the problem I had didn't work.
Oh, well. Maybe that's why I didn't come back.
Maybe so.
Okay, so I think that'll probably wrap up Q&A. Because I don't want to have Jerry running into the midnight hour.
We could be here till tomorrow.
So we have to start cleaning up at about 9:40 or 8:40.
At 9:40.
Yeah, 9:40 they'll be already thrown out of here. For those of you who are munching, try not to spill anything, because if we spill something, we have to identify and clean it up.
Identify it.
So don't spill anything. I mean, you know, if it gets on the table, you can wipe it off, but if it gets on the carpet, they might get grumpy.
I have a napkin.
Jack's got a napkin, our
There's napkins over there.
So,
All right.
guys ready for Jerry's OneNote presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
I just heard of it.
Okay, if you can't hear me, please let me know. I'm generally loud enough that everybody can hear me. OneNote, so we're going to get going here. I'm going to cover some things and explain some things on it. I'm going to show some demonstrations on it and show other things, trying to fit as much as I can into the time we have tonight. We will be taking notes, etc. I did volunteer to continue this program into next month's meeting. And I want everybody to think about ideas and questions that they would like me to cover in more detail, so we can do that, and I'll talk about that at the end of my program. So we're going to start with OneNote. By the way, I've dog fooded this program tonight. The entire presentation you're going to see is a OneNote notebook. So you can actually make your own, you can actually use it as presentation software, etc. So, and I can actually show you how I do it if that's something that people are having interest in. One of the best quotes I found is that OneNote is the best Microsoft program you're probably not using. And I thought that, and I agree with that after I've gotten into it very heavily. OneNote's a very flexible note-taking application, and it can work across almost every device you have. And it's good for doing small, simple task lists, as well as managing big projects for, Fortune 100 companies if you want to. And you can access your OneNote notebooks from just about anywhere you have internet connection. You can share, I'm going to go through a bunch of little things about the software before we get into it, so you can kind of get some ideas of what you can do. So you can share OneNote notebooks with others. You can collaborate with other people on the same notebook at the same time if you want to. So if you're in a meeting and you have 16 people taking notes, they can all enter notes into the same notebook and then share and collaborate with them across the areas. And it is a digital notebook that basically it's a single place for all the information you want to manage, whether at work, home, school, etc. And OneNote is great for keeping track of ideas and stuff. Like David Allen, another quote is, your mind is for having ideas, not for holding them. This is a great place for putting ideas to remember later. One of the things I use extensively in it is that you can use voice controls on your smartphones to send information to OneNote without even being logged into OneNote. So you might want to keep that in mind as one of your things. And when you're using OneNote, my recommendation, don't think outside the box, think like there is no box. It's amazing ideas that can come when you're just thinking about it. To use Microsoft OneNote, you do need a Microsoft account. And that is free for everybody that wants it. And OneNote will use your OneDrive cloud storage as the default location for all of your notebooks. And the OneNote cloud storage, that does come with the Microsoft account, although it's not a huge amount, but it's a reasonable amount for general use. And anybody that's using Office 365, you have a terabyte of hard drive space up on OneDrive, so we got lots of room to store things. And if you store your information up on OneDrive, it lets you access your notebooks from other devices anywhere you have access to the internet. You can collaborate with others on a notebook. You can share your notebook with others. And you do have the privilege of saying that they can only read my notebook, or they will be able to read and write or make it editable for them. So you can keep it private if you want to, as much as you need to. And nobody can make changes if you don't want it. Again, OneNote works across all different types of platforms, whether it's desktop laptops, whether you're using tablets, or whether you're using mobile or phones, smartphones. And there's a version for just about every app, every version out there. And then if you've got Linux and you're using it, you can actually use a web browser to get to it. There is a browser version. And because different platforms have different amounts of power, the applications will vary from device to device. Your desktop computer has a lot more power than a smartphone computer does, so you can do a lot more features on the desktop than you can on a smartphone. But you can do most of the major things you'll ever want to do on any device you have. And if anybody has any questions, please let me know. Yes?
On those multiple platform versions, if you were using, say, a desktop and a laptop version and also a smartphone or something like that, and you have a project started, or I'm not sure what they call it, can you cross your information over from one platform to the other very seamlessly?
Yes, because you actually are working on the same OneNote. That's why the notebook is actually stored on the OneDrive cloud account.
Okay.
That way every device is still talking to that same notebook that's up on OneDrive, so it doesn't matter if you're using, your Android phone or your iPad. You're all pointing, you point, and that's why you need a Microsoft account, so it keeps track of what you're doing, so it can manage that for you. So you're working on the same notebook if you want to in all the devices. Is that
Yes.
okay?
I think I should have known the answer, but
No, that's fine. To give you an idea, this is what the OneNote application that comes with Windows 10 looks like on a screen. And if you look at the area there,
Question?
Yes. I thought, and so far I've learned a lot and been refreshed on a lot, I thought there were two versions for Windows. One is the free version and one is the paid-for version.
we'll get to that in just a minute.
Okay.
David.
Okay. Are you showing us the free version of the paid-for?
This is the version that comes with Windows 10. When you install Windows 10, this version is installed on your your device.
This is the free version then?
They're all free now, David.
Okay, then. You'll explain that. I'm sorry.
There's also a website that you can go onto. You can actually, so if, no matter if you're on a Linux box, you can open it up in a web browser, so you can get to the same notebooks on a web browser on whatever product, as long as you've got a standard web browser, and that's just going to the website and logging in with your Microsoft account. And then, as David said, there used to be a paid version, but a long time, it's been quite a while since they've changed it. The version that comes with Office, which is currently called OneNote 2016, is the most powerful version, and that is free to download and install on any program, any Windows 10 or any Windows supported device. So there is no longer any charge for the versions of OneNote. That went back, I think, 4 or 5 years ago when that was being done.
I went through a class at the Microsoft Store 2 years ago, and they were talking about 2 separate versions, but I might be senile.
Well, I don't know when they exactly changed it, but
Okay.
if you go out right now, anybody can download it from the Microsoft
That's
site
all I
for
wanna
Office
know.
OneNote 2016 on Windows.
Thank you. That won't change to 2017 or 18 shortly?
I'm not on the inside with Microsoft to say yes or no on that, but I doubt that they will do it and
Okay.
start charging for it. So I'm going to be using OneNote 2016 on a Windows 10 workstation. Yes?
We can all do this on Windows 7.
No. You cannot install everything on Windows 7.
Okay.
You can install the OneNote 2016. You cannot install the OneNote that comes with Windows 10. That is separate. That will only install on 8 or 10.
But there is a OneNote 2016 for Windows 7, correct?
No, it's the same version. It doesn't matter on that. It's an Office application, so it will run on Windows 7 as well as Windows 10, the 2016 version. Just like Office 2016 will also run on Windows 7.
I guess I'm not running Windows 7, I'm on 10. But for my good friends who are using Windows 7, will you give an idea of what they will lose?
I do not have a Windows 7 box and
Okay.
haven't had for some time to be able to test it.
Okay.
Now there is a feature that's in OneNote that you can access very quickly whether OneNote is open or not, and that's to do a quick note. It's like a sticky note for your screen. And if you press on the Windows key and the letter N, if you notice there it popped up a note, and you can add information to that, and then you can close it, but it stores it in OneNote in a notebook. So you can always get back to your quick notes. Now this will go behind the scenes, although you can tell it to stay on top, so it's always available. So if I just want to add something here, I can just type it in. And I'm going to... I can't get that to enlarge on the screen, but... So that is a quick note you can take and keep track of things you're doing wherever you're at on that quick note.
Question about the Windows N. If you open up one Windows N and then open up it a little later, is it a separate one or the same one?
I believe it's a separate one. I believe. I can't remember right now, Jack. Let's see. Okay, have you just opened it? It does open up a second one. But if you look down in the sys tray, there is a, you can see that it shows you that there are 3 of them open right now.
How would you save each individual one?
You never save in OneNote. OneNote automatically saves everything. There is no save feature. So if you enter it, it's saved.
How do I get back to the one I just put test 1 in?
Go to your system tray.
I wasn't paying that much attention. Let me close these down. Basically, if I want to come to here, and I'm just going to say that I'm going to put test in here.
Nice and large now.
Yeah, I changed the font size.
Thank you.
Okay. And if you notice, it puts it into what is called a container. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's actually a box surrounding that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So make it a second one now.
Call it test 2.
You want me to do on the same quick note?
On
or
that
do-
one, call it test 2, and then close it and make test 3 and see if we can find either of them. That's what I can't find.
Okay, I just clicked down on the OneNote icon in the tray, in the task tray, or in the system tray, and I can click on it and bring it back. Now, if I want to do you want me to do another one, Dave?
Yeah.
Okay, do a Windows N.
I lost one of the ones I had, but I did an X to get rid of it, and that actually lost it. That's the thing. You don't want to X to close it. I just wanted to close it, but I didn't, and that canceled it.
No, it does not. It actually put it in a OneNote, in a notebook somewhere. I don't know where it would have been on your machine, but it does actually store it in a notebook.
Well, I hit that silly X in the upper right-hand corner, and it just totally disappeared. And I've made 3 of them, and they've all been lost.
Have you gone out to see what notebook you're defaulting to? So in other words, when you're working with
OneNote uses your OneDrive to store everything.
it stores everything on the one by default. What I just opened up, David, is I went to my personal web page, which is the one it created when I started. And if you notice, I have OneNote, and I have Test 2, and I
But you
have
didn't
another one
accept-
that says Test. So the notes are actually stored in the notebook. And you have to find, I don't know what yours is set to default, you'd have to find out what it is, and that's where your note is at.
Okay.
And it's under Quick Notes, under your default notebook that was created when you installed OneNote or when it was set up.
Well, I did something wrong with the setup, so I can't find it. I'll bug you in the Q&A at the end.
I'll be happy to help you find out where that's at, Dave.
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay. And just to show you that I did that, when I come back, I close those with the X, David, and they're still here in the OneNote notebook. Okay, so that's getting started. And I'm going through some stuff. OneNote is based on a metaphor of a 3-ring binder that has sections and pages. And you can group and lay out the information any way that works the best for you. It's very flexible. OneNote will not force you to be organized, but lets you organize in the way that you want. And you're never locked into one system. If you decide you want to change how you're organizing in a notebook, you can always change it anytime you want to after the fact. And OneNote 2016 is part of the Office group, so the interface should be familiar with most of this because it has the standard ribbon windows that you look at that you're used to seeing on any Office, and you have most of the features that you want from Office on the system. Again, there's no forced or uniform page layout or structure that you have to follow. It's all free form. And the work area, some people call it a canvas, is unlimited in size. There is no limit on the size and where you can place data on a OneNote page. But do keep in mind the size if you intend to do a lot of printing with the information you're putting on there. And I'll show you about sizing in a few moments. When OneNote adds anything, it builds what they call a container. And if you can see that gray bar across the top above the text, I clicked inside of that text, and that's the top bar of the container. And there's actually lines if you look closely on the other 3 sides. And you can move the container. You can move the container wherever you want it. You can resize the container to so you can arrange things the way that you would like them to be. And some of the things that you can do with it, you can make to-do lists, shopping lists, event planning. We were talking earlier here, you can create a virtual photo album. You can actually make a photograph album or a scrapbook pages that you want to do on using OneNote as your source. You can create contact lists. I mean, there's all kinds of things that there's virtually nothing you can't use OneNote for to keep information. And again, you can share OneNote notebooks with your family, friends, or whoever you want to. And you can make it so they can just read it, or you can make it so they can read and write in it. So it's very versatile for what you're wanting to do. One of the things that, for collaboration, one of the things that I am working with my wife, Carol, to go to an open notebook, I have a notebook that I am collaborating on with my wife. And if you notice, my wife is giving me a bunch of information here, and I can scroll down to see things. I can change to different pages, to different images. I can put text with it as narratives. And if you notice one thing over here, on this side, if you notice the letter CH, That's my wife's initials, so I know she's the one that worked on that piece of information in OneNote, so I can go back and look at it in collaboration. And my wife does it. By the way, you can also, if you go to the history, I can see who did, I can see what Carol has done and what I have done inside of the notebook. If you notice over on the right-hand side, I've got both of our names, so if I click on Carol's name, and I thought this would show bigger, I don't know how to do that in here.
Change the screen resolution.
But I can go in and look and see what she's done over on the right-hand side. So let's go see if I can change the screen resolution. I so seldom do this that I...
Close it out and right-click on your desktop, just like I did in every version of Windows since.
I was just trying to get to this.
And then scroll down a little bit. Scroll down now. Scroll down.
There we go.
You don't really want 23 by whatever that is.
How about
It's a little hard
percentage?
for most of us to read.
Which one would you recommend?
1680.
1680?
How about just do the zoom factor?
I don't know.
And you want to go back to that.
Yeah, we can, this is not an easy thing to fix on a projector. I would just go to the right there and change the zoom to a higher number and see if that works.
What was it, 200?
Yeah, but you change the resolution. You change one or the other.
I'm at 175.
And then just go back to your.
Go back to your previous resolution and see if you can go to 250.
I can read that.
That's much better there, so we'll just leave there.
Okay.
I just have to do a little
It's trial and
scrolling.
error, unfortunately.
Yeah, these projectors are pretty old.
Yeah, okay. So you can use OneNote notebooks for just about any project or any ideas you want. My wife does a lot of making handmade cards, and she's now building her own portfolio in OneNote of all the cards she makes and does for scrapbooking and everything. So you can really be very versatile.
I think that's what I thought. Looking at
So.
those images.
Okay. Everything is based on a notebook, and you can have as many notebooks as you want. OneNote's notebooks stay open until you actually close that individual notebook, and if you close OneNote and you reopen it, all of the notebooks that you had open when you closed OneNote will automatically be reopened and available to use. So, and OneNote by default will store your notebooks in OneDrive. You can move them other places, but then you may lose some of your ability to share and do a lot and access it from other devices. If you store your one notebook on your local drive, you can't get to it except on that machine. You can't get to it from your phone or from a tablet or wherever you're at on doing that. Okay. Right now I'm going to go back out and let's do a demo. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on...
Can you summarize like the different, you talked about notebooks and you talked about some other term.
sections and pages.
But there's another term.
Well, I hope I never heard
A
of it.
little box thing,
Oh, that's a container.
a container.
Okay, containers are on a page. And what it is, it's a container to hold information. And it can be text, it can be images or whatever. And that allows you to rearrange the information on the page by moving the containers around and resizing them.
So a notebook has pages,
A notebook has sections and pages.
and the sections are kind of like,
I'm going to cover that right now.
okay.
Okay, right now, I'm going to go back here. Under this, I'm going to click on the File menu up at the top left corner up there on File. I'm going to click New, and my default is going to store it on my OneDrive, if you see Personal. And I'm going to create a new notebook out here, and you can change the name. And we'll just make it simple. We're going to call it Dog, and I'm going to do Create a Notebook. And if I want to invite people to share the information, I can do it. Normally, I do that later. Okay. So what I want to do here, I did the wrong thing there. Let me close up some stuff here.
Which version of OneNote are you using, what did you say?
2016.
One that comes with Office,
No, yeah, one that comes with Office.
not the one that comes with Windows
No, I'm not using the one that comes with Windows 10.
10. Okay.
What did yours come with Office 365?
Well, I'm using OneNote 2016, and that's what the current Office version is.
Okay. The one that comes with Windows 10 is called what?
Just OneNote.
Okay.
And if it's Office, it's OneNote 2016.
Okay.
Yeah, the OneNote with Windows 10 is an app. The OneNote 2016 is a program. So everybody hopefully knows the difference.
Okay, so we're going to create a notebook out here. So I click on File, I then come down, I can click on New, which is on the left-hand side. I'm going to type in the name and click on Create Notebook. I've already got one, so. This is all the open notebooks I have. I'm going to click on Dog, and it becomes the active notebook. And by default, when you create a new notebook, you get a section, or what you would consider a tab at the top, called New Section 1. And there's also an empty page that is called Untitled Page, and you can see the page listing on the right-hand side. So if you want to change the name of the page, you can go in and type it in. If you notice, the cursor is over at just above the date and time down there. So if I come in here and I want to name this as Dog Test, if you notice it changes the name on the right-hand side also in the list. And then I can come down here and I can start entering any data that I want to on it. You can create as many sections as you want. You can rename them. I'm not going to rename them just because we can be quick. It'll give it a default value. And if you notice, each one of the sections or tabs across the top has a different color. You can customize the color that you want them to be. If I want to change the color, I can right-click on it, select the color, and I can change that to purple. So you can personalize and test it any way you want to, and you can do that. You can also rearrange just by clicking on it and dragging it to where you want it in the list, and it'll now rearrange the sections and the tabs. Now,
Does it know if you created another one not to use purple?
yes, it will try to use a different color.
Okay.
So if I create another one, it will not be in the color. It tries not to use the same colors until you've used them all up
Okay.
out of the list. Now, eventually, you're going to get too many tabs or sections to be able to find them without scrolling. Yes?
Can you print out the whole OneNote, or can you do it by purple or yellow, or when you...
I'll show you in a minute.
Okay,
I'm going to show that here in a minute.
okay.
The other thing you can do is that you can create what they call section groups. And what that is, it's another section, and if I come out to the right area, to the right of where it says that new section 6, and left click on it, I can create a new group. And what that does is it creates a group out here to the right, and it's a new group. And if I click on that and go into it, I can now add my own sections inside of that one group for grouping them into groups. And then if you want to go back to the base, the little green arrow over here beside the name of this group, I I can go back to the other one. If I want to reopen up a group, I can double click on it and it'll jump to it. So you can
Can
do,
you search a whole notebook?
we'll get into search later. I'm going to cover that later.
Yeah, but if you don't know if you can do it or not, you
You
can't.
can.
Yes, you can search more than you can believe.
Okay. So far.
Okay, so we've just basically, we've done that. If you want to come out to the pages, up at the top, you can add pages, and I'm just going to add a whole bunch of them.
And that's pages under the section you're in right now, right?
Correct. If you notice, it's gray, like I'm in section 6 right now.
Yeah.
It's gray, and it'll have gray over there. So if I switch to another area, the page area will reflect this color of the section tab.
Okay.
Now you can do sub-pages and sub-sub-pages inside of here. So you can actually drag it over, so you can actually make subsections, and then you can put it, you can go down 2 levels on sub-pages. You can have sub-pages and sub-sub-pages. And if you don't, and if that gets too cluttered and you want to simplify it, come over here and click on the plus sign. What am I doing wrong here? Oh, I'm going the wrong, I'm thinking of something else. If you look at the arrowhead on the top level, there's a little arrowhead at the right of the page. If I click on that, it'll collapse all the subpages underneath the main page. So you can narrow it down and expand it as you want to for organizing. So that's basically the structure of it. Is there any questions at this moment? And I will show you that we can search later. Okay, well let's go back to a different notebook that I want to show you. Okay, I'm going to do this to give you some more room. You can customize the individual page while you're working with it. You can change the background color to blue. That doesn't show any real well. Or you can go back to purple. If you look at it, you can see that you can change that to purple. And in order to do that, what you do is you right-click on it. Oh no, excuse me. Sometimes I get a little confused yet. I go up to View and pick on Page Color, and I can pick on any color I want it to be for the background. You can also add paper lines, like this is size they call college rule. So you can, this is very helpful if you're using pen to do data entry into OneNote, which OneNote if your device supports it, will let you use a pen or a stylus with it, and it will actually convert your writing into text, like typed text, so you can, paste it other places if you want to. You can also do grids, and I didn't realize it was going to show up this light. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. Yes, Jack?
You said you could talk to the speaker? I mean, you could enter speech text?
Yes.
Can you enter speech text here?
You could, but I've got another place that I've got that scheduled to be displayed at Jack.
Thank you.
And you can combine color and lines, and then we can actually do different page sizes. Like this is an index card size page if I want to do it, or I can do standard notebook size page. And that will limit me to only fitting within an 8.5 inch wide device. And you can change and you can do custom sizes if you want to on that. They also make what is called templates that come with it, that you can have the background. As you see, this one here is a to-do list that's got the push pins, etc. And that's a template that you can create and that you can use to start from if you want to. So you can do that. You can have a template like for doing meetings. And to do templates, what you do is you, let me turn this out here so I can get to it. So change my size, I have to remember to scroll over. Templates are available, they come in all different types of things, and they're grouped by different things. So you can do academic, and you can look at the different items. If you don't like the templates, you can create your own templates and use that as a default that you can select when you're creating pages. So if you've got something like a recipe book, or you want to do like a photo album, and you've got a particular layout you want to put on your page to page to page, you can automatically have the page set up when you start with it.
Can you put spreadsheets in there?
Absolutely. Since we seem to have a lot of interest, let me just kind of jump around instead of following the program I want. Let me get to a clean page.
So Jerry, say you did a cookbook, okay?
Yes.
Okay, and say that you made certain recipes different colors. So if you wanted to print those out, a question I asked earlier, can you print all that same color out?
You can print whatever's on the page. You can't print by you can print by section, but not by color.
Okay.
You have to print by section.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you asked if we can put a spreadsheet. Right there we have an icon up at the top that is an Excel spreadsheet. If I click on that, I'm going to do an existing spreadsheet because I have one on my machine here that I can do instead of having to do it. What it's going to do is it's going to go out and it's going to let me find an Excel spreadsheet. I'm going to insert it. And now I have a spreadsheet that's an Excel spreadsheet. If I click on, if you look at the top where it has the Excel icon and I click on that, I can open up Excel, make changes, and what the changes will be automatically reflected in the Excel spreadsheet that's in OneNote. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Was there something more you needed or more information you'd like?
No, that's okay.
You can also put a table on here like you can inside of Word, which is not just a basic table that you can set up on it.
Okay, question. Let's say that you're using Linux and you don't have Excel. Would it be able to drop in, let's say, a LibreOffice spreadsheet?
Yes,
Okay.
but it won't automatically, not this way, it will not recognize that. You have to do that as a file attachment or a print to.
I thought I was going to stump you, Jerry.
And then,
With friends like Chris, you don't need enemies.
No, you don't.
and to do that, what you would do is up here at the top, there's a thing called File Printout. And you'd have to do this in a web browser version of OneNote, because that's the only way you can get to it from Linux.
Yeah.
Okay. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to just, I'm going to print out, I've got a little single line text here. What you would do is you would actually file printout, and what it's doing is it's going to print out, that's the name of the file I just printed, and below it you'll see the text of the print. Now when you go back in to work on your, to change in your LibreOffice Excel spreadsheet, what you do is where it says print to text with the icon, if you double click on that, here it's going to say that could be dangerous. It's going to let me open up the application that's associated with it. You may have to play with some on the association to get it to do this, but it should work. But if I come in here and say this is a test, and I do that, and then I come up here and I do save, and then close. If you notice down below the icon there, it says the printout below may be out of date. Please click here to refresh. So if I click on the refresh, right click, and refresh printout. Says that again. And if you notice, the changes to the printout have been moved into OneNote from that. That's how you would do an external spreadsheet that wouldn't be Excel. Now again, I said you could insert tables. The other thing you can do is you can actually go in. Yes, I've started on that in my OneNote, and let me finish up here. This here is an area that you can go in, you can do different text, you can format just like you can inside of Office. So you can bold, underline, change colors. You can put what they call tags on your data. And if you notice up here at the top, I've got an exclamation point, and I've got a light bulb icon,
I have to be able to get in.
which are tags that I've added to my system. And with the new size, I got to find where it's at.
That's like a genealogy program. When you put notes, you can tag in different paragraphs. Then I think you can print out by those tags.
Okay, here it is. I just get to the right one. You can add tags like a to-do list. You can do that there. And if you can go out and select what you want to tag something with. You just pick the slot, pick the tag you want, and it's tagged. So right now I've got the light bulb, which is an idea, and I've got a critical on that. And if you want to find them, you can actually find tags. And what it does is it comes back and it shows you where, and it's groups by the idea, whether it's critical or an idea or a to-do list. So you can actually find where you have your tags at when you're doing that. Now you asked about searching. Up at the right hand, up at the upper right where you normally see it, there's a search box, and if I just type in OneNote, if you notice it's actually, while I'm typing it in, it's actually narrowing down the search. That is everywhere that the word OneNote appears in the device. This shows you in the title. If we scroll on down, this shows where it appears on a page outside of the title. This shows you where I've done it deleted. Anything you delete is put into a temporary recycle bin for 60 days. So you can always go back and recover what you've deleted by finding it. You can even, if you notice, it even searches in your deleted text in areas when you're doing that.
But
Now,
it's just within this one notebook?
let me finish.
Okay.
Over at the right-hand side by the X, there's a drop-down arrow. You can select that you want to find it on this page only, in this section group, in this notebook, or in all notebooks. So you can select the scope that you want the search to go into. So if I say I want it, right now I'm doing all notebooks. And that's why I'm getting so many that you're seeing here. So you can set the scope of where you want it to search, whether you just want to look on this page or you want to do everything else. You can insert images from your local computer or from the web. And when you put the photos in here, it does not lower the quality of the photo. It keeps the original quality of the photo that you used to put it in here. So if you're using a very high resolution photo, it will not lose any resolution. Not every photo image, like raw photos, are not supported yet in this area. You can also insert files. You can attach documents to it just as an attachment, and then you can just double click on it and open it up to edit it. This particular one, I'm going into Corel. That's a Corel file that I attached to my OneNote device. So there's the OneNote Corel. You can also add videos from the internet. Like this is a version on OneNote.
Not the same. It's missing all of these features. It's gotten worse. I hear this kind of feedback a lot about OneNote, but the
So you
good
can,
news is that OneNote...
and you can also link, there are some other formats that you can, not just YouTube, that you can use to do that. The other thing you can do is when you insert, you can actually record audio, so you can, if your device has a microphone on it, you can actually record the audio of what's going on within your device. You can also do a video if you have the camera and a microphone on your device. You can also, I think I mentioned it earlier, you can also, from your smartphones, if you want to use voice, whether it be Siri or whatever, you can actually send information from your mobile device directly into a OneNote on doing it. OneNote is also integrated to work with Outlook. For anybody that uses Outlook, there's already a link in it. If you have Outlook and OneNote installed, they will interact with each other. You can actually link the meetings that you schedule in Outlook into OneNote, where you can take notes about the meeting related to that meeting. You can also integrate your Outlook tasks from OneNote, so you can actually add tasks to Outlook from OneNote and edit it from within OneNote on the tasks that you're using. Now I'm going to go into a couple of very interesting tools that I would highly recommend everybody that works with OneNote get. Number one is one of the tools that comes with OneNote is a page clipper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reopen up my Outlook, and I want to clip something out of that. If I right-click on the icon down below, I can take a screen, the second one down there is take a screen clipping. If I click on that, you will see that it graded out a little bit. If I come in and I highlight an area and let go, it now just automatically inserts that into OneNote, in my active table, active note. So right now, if I maximize that, you'll see that that's my clipping that I just took off the page.
And what was that tool called again?
It's the screen clipper.
Thank you.
Page clippers. Yeah, yeah. Now the other one that I'm going to show you is called Web Clipper. And this is available for every major browser that's out there, whether you've got Safari, OneNote, or Edge, or you've got Firefox or Chrome or whatever you've got. It's an extension or an add-on that you can get and download and add to your system. And what I have right now is, if you notice up at the right-hand corner, upper right, I've got a OneNote, and it says clip to OneNote. If I click on this, it opens up. I can clip the entire full page. I can select a region to bring it into. I can just click the article without the ads and things to it, or I can just put a bookmark, which will be a hot link to go back to that page when I want to. I'm going to choose a region here, and I'm going to come down here and I'm going to select this region, and then clip, and I'm going to go back and view it in OneNote. By the way, this by default puts it into your personal web. And if you notice now, I've got all that document, all that data in my screen, and it's actually like a, it's actually in a container. So I've got that, so you can actually keep all of the information, and if you notice, it keeps a link at the top of where you clip that from, so you can always go back to it. I'm using this everywhere I'm doing research now. I'm clipping out of pages, and I can just go back to it, and I've got the links, I can do that. By the way, if I want to, I can get the text out of here, and I'll show you that in just a minute. So that's one, and that is a free tool that's available for you to install on all your devices. And the other tool is a product called Office Lens, L-E-N-S. And it is an application that works with your camera on your device. And again, it runs on basically every device that's got a camera. And it's optimized for taking photos of items and saving them to OneNote. So what I did is to do this, I went out to a place, and I found a bunch of cute sayings that were on something. And if you notice over here, it tells me that that's the date and time I took it, and it was put in here by OneNote, by Office Lens. So I can change to the different. Okay, now that's good. That's an image. That's a bitmap image. On all bitmap images, whether it comes from a scanner, it comes from a camera, you bring it down from anywhere that you've got, if it's a JPEG file, if you right-click on it, the third one down, it says Copy Text from Picture. I click on that, and let me add a new page here. I'm going to come in here. I'm just going to do a control paste. There is the text out of the image. It's fully editable. You can do whatever you want to with it. I can change the font size.
But you have to do that with a lens.
Yeah.
No, any JPEG
You
image.
come with them.
If you take a picture with your camera and bring it
You
in.
read lens when you extracted that text.
No, that is OneNote that is extracting the text. The OCR and the extracting text is part of OneNote.
Where was the JPEG? Where was that image?
The image, that particular image I took with Office Lens.
Okay.
But if I
Where
have
was it stored?
it's stored on OneNote. I had sent it from Office Lens on my phone to OneNote.
Okay.
You could have captured it off the website.
I could have captured it off the website. So if we come back here, if I come back here to the content that I did here, which was what I copied from my desktop here, if I do right click, I can copy text from the picture. I did this by using the clipper on the page clipper. So if I come back here and I add another page, there's all the data that was in that web clip, in the screen clipping. You can do the same thing with a web clipper. So if you've got like a recipe that you want to, you can actually extract it out and edit, do what you want to with it from that point in time. So that's that's a very powerful tool I'm starting to use extensively right now. If you have a scanner and you scan in a document, you don't have to buy OCR software now. OneNote will be your OCR software. You can scan, and some of the newer scanners are letting you scan directly into OneNote. So if you've got an old scanner that saves it to a file, you can just bring it in, you can print that file in here and extract the data out of it, and you've got your own OCR software without buying anything new.
It's pretty reliable, because OCR has maybe a 2 or 3% error rate.
Nothing is 100%, but there's always a certain amount, but I've had very, very good luck with using OCR. Now the one area, I do have one here I'll show you that does not do a good one. This one here, the push pin is over the survive, I survived. I can't get survived out of that because the image is obscured, so it does not know what to do with that. So if I go up here and I copy text to a picture, and if you know, I've already done it here once. So it's not perfect, but it's probably as good as you're going to find on any OCR program.
Okay, you can edit it.
Yeah, I can come in here and I can change, I can re-edit it.
How come share if? is wrong? Where you didn't highlight the box correctly? The bottom line.
That was a partial.
It's just a partial, it didn't capture it all.
Okay.
So you, as in all OCR software, you need to check what it did when it did the OCR process. Nothing is 100%. But I haven't found it to be any worse than any of the other paid OCR programs that I've used. I'm no longer going to be updating any OCR software.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons why paperboard is slowly but surely going away.
Another area that I've noticed, I've read a lot of people are using this, when you go to a meeting or a convention and you have all kinds of contact information, business cards, just use Office Lens to take a picture and now it's in your OneNote. You don't have to worry about where it's at. You can go back and OCR it and do what you want to with it. So, now there's a whole bunch of other things that we can get into that I want to do. One of the things you can do is you do have a history, so you can look at what you've done, so you can actually see the versions. You know, I can change the versions. As I said earlier, there is a recycle bin. And right, so when you open up the recycle bin, and that's per notebook has its own recycle bin. So I can open it up, and I'm right now looking at everything that I've ever thrown into the recycle bin so I can go back and get it. This is only kept for 60 days before it goes away. So 61 days after you've deleted something, it will no longer be available in the recycle bin, but anything that's newer than 60 days will still be there. Now, that's kind of a quick overview of what you can do with it. I've showed you some of the stuff that I'm doing with my notebook. My wife and I are working on developing Christmas and what we're doing for layouts. If you notice, I did a pen. I'm doing some pen work here. And this is what I'm working on. This is our workup for the Colorado Country Christmas Show that is at the Merchandise Mart in November. So all the information that's in here will be coming into that environment, how I'm laying it out. So if I want to do this is some of the stuff that this is where I'm ordering things. This is where I'm keeping track of what I'm ordering from this here. And this is I'm getting information to the website where I picked up the prices and what I need to order for all of the things. Let's see if I come up here. These are some of the suppliers I do business with, so I can actually do this. And I'm looking at bags to put things in. This is what I need to order. So I'm keeping all my information here. My wife can see it. I can work with it and do everything. So you can always go back and look at what you want to work with, and if you share it. Now, I'm going to go over here for a couple more things. One of the things that you need to know is that in order to close a notebook, you have to actually intentionally come in and actually close it. So if you click on File and Info, underneath Settings there is a Close, so you can close that particular notebook so it won't be in your Open list anymore. And you can also go in and change properties on it. You can also change the color of the notebook if you don't like the notebook color that it appears on there. You can change the name, but you only change the display name because the file name stays the same behind the scenes. So if you called it Dog and you came back in and wanted to name it Dale as a display name, the file name that's going to be showing up in File Manager or Windows Manager is still going to be Dog. But when you look at it on here, it's going to show it as a physical name. Now, you can open up any of the files, any closed notebooks you can open, so you can actually look down, browse, and find wherever you're at. Now, when you're going to be printing, you can select where you want to print from, and you can actually choose the printer, page range, and number of copies. So if I come in here and click on Print, it's going to ask me, do I want to do all sections, or current page, or page range, just like you can in any other type item. Another feature that's very good in here is, this is where you would go back in if you want to share with somebody so they can actually see your notebook, or you can also remove their permissions from doing it. You can also export a OneNote notebook out to different file formats, and you can do a page, you can do a section, or you can do the entire notebook. And like on a page, you can do it as a OneNote single page, you can do it as a Word document, you can do a PDF, or you can actually send it to a single page web file if you want to, when you're looking at page. You can do, sections, you can do all different types of things. And on the note, if you want to do the notebook, you've got a few less, but you can always, everything can be exported out to a PDF if you want to use it there. You can also send anything by email as an attachment or as a printout, etc. The PDF. You can send it to Word, so it's out there. Account is where you would, actually this is your OneNote or your Microsoft account information that you're doing. If you want to do feedback, but under options is a very important area, and there's a lot of stuff to configure. This is how you configure OneNote to be where it's wanted. So if you want to customize the ribbons, you can come in here and customize the ribbons. You can work on how sync works. You can do all kinds of different types of things, and you can put in there. This is how you send a OneNote by setting up different types of areas for contacts or meetings, etc. So you've got lots of collaboration that you can learn to do underneath there. And there's a few things that, one of the other things you can do is when you're doing like a recording of a document like this or something, OneNote actually OCRs the recording of your voice and has it indexed for search. They haven't got it out yet. I know they're working on it, but they're actually working on voice to text within OneNote. There is a couple workarounds right now, but they are working on it. So when you're searching, you can actually search inside of the recording for a particular word. If your instructor for that day had mentioned something about the Revolutionary War, you could go in and search for revolutionary and find the actual recording and where it was at. And if you were taking notes on it, it remembers where in the recording that note was taken, so you can jump back to that point in the recording from the note. So you don't have to listen to the whole class. You can just jump to where you took that particular note. Remember this, and you don't even have, that's all you have to put down, and it'll take you back so you can rehear it. Well, that's kind
I
of
have a question.
certainly.
If you said you could send stuff from your, like if I have my iPod, if I want to send something to OneNote, how do I do that?
Okay, I'm not sure on an iPod, but under an Apple smartphone, you have to set up a contact, which is me.outlook, and there are a couple other things that you have to set in the settings for that document. And then when you do it, you can just say, Siri, send an email to me OneNote. And Siri then will listen and take your information and send that automatically to your OneNote from Siri.
Can I forward if I'm looking at my email on here and I want to send it to OneNote.
You can type, I believe that's still the same thing, you set it up, and that's what I'm looking at here on other contact information.
So I'll say I have a to-do list, and I'm going to, put that on my to-do list.
Okay, I don't have an Apple, so I've never tried it on that. But I do know that you set up your account so you can send it to an account on a contact list, and I believe it's again me.OneNote is the name of the, but you have to be signed into the Microsoft account so it knows who you are, and then that will send from your
I don't know how I would
email.
log into Microsoft here.
Well, if you log into OneNote, it will prompt you. If it doesn't automatically, it will prompt you for your user ID and password for your Microsoft account if you try to open up OneNote. And I read the configurations, but every device is slightly different. And since you don't pay for me to have every device and pay my monthly bills, so I can have them to figure it out, I can't do that. If you'd like to do that, I'll be happy to figure it out for you.
No, that's okay.
Now, have I confused everybody on OneNote?
Yes.
Yes, I
Yes.
think so.
I think
It's a
one
phenomenal
thing
We have to
program.
go and see.
So,
to take away from this, this is OneNote 2016. Radically different than what's installed in Windows 10. It doesn't even have the same menus, it doesn't have the same capabilities.
It has the same capabilities almost.
It's really hard to find it.
It's different to find it.
Well, I just installed 2016 on my tablet. I already had OneNote Windows 10 built in, and they are radically different. And the OneNote Online version is also different.
OneNote Online is very different.
OneNote app. Remember I said earlier, difference between apps and programs. An app is a crippled program.
Yeah, it's on this tablet, I couldn't
You
find it.
can't do anything you just showed on the built-in Windows 10 version.
That's the
Except if you already have, you do quick notes and things like that, but you can't get into any of the,
Neat stuff.
you know, the OCR doesn't work.
No, because it's,
Not
that I
there.
don't know, I've not tried that.
Yeah.
But if you want to, I'm right now in the OneNote for Windows 10. Okay, and it just got a different layout is what we're looking at. So
Well, but also you'll notice you can't find the same menus.
No, because it's a universal Windows app instead of the.
Well, it looks a lot simpler.
Yeah.
Not simpler.
And pull up your OneNote that had an image and see if you can OCR.
I
You
don't
saved
think
an
you can.
image to one of your notebooks, so pull it up on the built-in app and see if you can OCR. I could not.
We have restless legs. I have restless legs.
So it's a work in
I
progress.
think that's one for me about no app.
No,
Yeah,
one of
you
your
go.
notes, one of your notebooks, or wherever you have an image, because you saved an image
That's
somewhere.
what I'm opening it up right now.
I'm sorry, what?
He's using the best version.
Who's using it?
There it
It's
goes.
loading. It's got to go out and load into the app.
Oh, I'm gonna start.
Right. But I could not do that. I tried it and will not do it. Unless I'm doing something wrong. But I know how to right click. And since that's what you're supposed to be able to do.
Well, and since OneNote 2016 is free, there's no reason
Yeah,
not
but-
to use it.
To get OneNote 2016 on a Windows 10 device, I just downloaded it. It's not transparent. They make it difficult. I even looked up several articles that say the same thing.
Okay.
Yes, everything.
They do not make downloading OneNote 2016 on a non-Office 365 machine easy. But you can get it. I just did it.
Well, they want you to buy Office 365.
Well, yeah, I know, but I mean, you can download it, it's just, the link is totally not obvious. Because if you're on Windows 10, what it told me is you already have OneNote. So then I had to go down to say, download the Windows desktop version. That's different than the Windows 10 app. But I got it, I eventually got it, so I do have the version.
I have not tried using OCR on the.
Yeah, I haven't,
I'm gonna clean up the
You know,
table.
I couldn't get through.
Right now, it's taking a long time to load because of the internet
We
connection.
only got 3 minutes.
Yeah, the connection here is not good.
So there's a lot of information to bring down.
So, but, you know, keep in mind that if you're going to use OneNote, there are 3 versions. Online, Windows 10, and 2016.
You've got Android, you've got Chrome,
Well, then
you've
you
got
have
iOS, you've got iPad.
Android and iPad and...
Every one of them, because each of those devices has different services they provide in different ways.
Looks like,
Okay.
now if you can find your, the image you downloaded.
There's some images.
See you, Marilyn.
Goodbye.
Glad you got to see me.
No, not next month, I'm gone. Traveling.
There it is on the right. So right click, you'll notice you do not have that option.
I like that, I like that
I
saying.
disagree with you, it's just not where you think it's going to be.
Where is it
If you
then?
right-click on it,
Yeah.
it says picture, and down at the bottom, and you can do it. Down second from the bottom,
Copy
it's
text.
copy text.
Okay, now go, see if you can paste, see if you can paste it. Huh, okay, so it's buried,
It's there, it's just a different layout.
which drives me crazy.
It's just like when they go different versions of Excel or Word or
Ah,
anything.
yeah, I just,
It's just a learning.
So your features
Anything on
are
a ribbon, I
called
can't
different,
find it anywhere.
placed in different places.
So it is there, it just
it's
hit.
just there, you just
It's
have
just
to
a
hunt for
different,
it.
you have to go right around the mountain instead of left, you still
Yeah.
is there.
She'll be coming around.
I couldn't find it, but I didn't think to click on the picture. I thought, well, that's gonna be picture control. I don't want that.
But, so even on the Windows 10 version, you can still get the.
Yeah, you can do it, just gotta.
There's very little you cannot do in the Windows 10 version versus the Office version. There's very, very little that is not.
I call it the free version
Not
versus the paid for version.
What?
I call it the free version versus the paid for version.
Right, but you don't have to pay for the versions at all.
OneNote's free no matter where you get it.
Even
What?
to the, how do you get 2016 for free? I thought you had an Office
You
2000.
go to OneNote,
Yeah,
you say you want to download it. If you're on a Windows 10 machine, it's going to tell you you already have it.
yeah.
Then you scroll down, and towards the bottom 2/3 of the screen, it says, download these versions, and one of them says Windows Desktop. And by that they mean the program, not the app. And then it will download. And what it looks like you're downloading Office, except you're only downloading OneNote.
You have the.
I think for this group here, the difference between an app and a program needs to be defined again. You discussed that at the other meeting, and I learned a lot. And I'm willing to bet over half of the people here couldn't tell you the difference between an app and a program.
App is a broken program.
Yeah.
To my way of thinking, apps are crippled programs,
Okay.
but they are different than a program. They're designed to run
On a tablet.
on a tablet or things like that.
Yeah.
And they, as we've seen, Jerry's got the app version up right now.
Yeah.
So it looks different. It behaves differently. Eventually you can find everything you need, it just works different.
And which version would be available for Windows 7? It would be the app version only?
No, the desktop version. Windows 7 doesn't have apps,
Okay,
only Windows 8 and 10.
okay.
This is incredibly confusing to most people.
What I discovered when I
I've been able to follow it. I
I did
don't know
a
how
test,
it is.
I put Office on this thing, and I couldn't figure out why I had two versions of OneNote. I had 2016 and just plain OneNote, and it finally dawned on me, oh, one's an app, one's a program.
Now, one thing I would recommend to learn this, and I did this quite some time ago. I started using OneNote for some very basic ideas. I didn't try to make this application that you see me using tonight right off the bat. That's a year down the road. So it is important to think about that.
Oh, don't they have tutorials that you?
That's what I was questioning. Is there a good tutorial, or
There are
where
some-
would we start at home?
There are some great tutorials at Microsoft, on YouTube, and under lynda.com. And lynda.com, if you've got a library card, you can get it free through your local library. Yes.
And I wouldn't be surprised if you looked on the list of the Microsoft Store classes that they give, that they might not have an introductory class to OneNote.
Well,
I've been to it 3 times, and it's the biggest disaster I've ever gone to.
Well,
really?
Yeah.
I think the key to learning something like OneNote, like Jerry says, is start
Small.
at the beginning. Jerry covered a lot more tonight than I thought he was going to cover.
I wanted to kind of give everybody an idea of overall what you can do.
Well, but yes, you dug into some, because we couldn't see what you're doing very well.
Okay.
And so it kind of, I've used OneNote and I was confused.
And he was answering questions that he
Oh,
was
yeah,
specifically asked too, which took him
But-
off course.
The way to play with it is just
Jump in.
jump in. Now, if you do not have a Microsoft account, you ain't gonna get it. And it's not gonna store it on OneDrive. I don't know where it stores it if you don't have a Microsoft account.
Well, when you set it, your first time you set up OneNote or go into OneNote, or even when you install it, it automatically will, you will have a OneDrive account, and that's where your default.
Well, what if you don't have a Microsoft account?
You can't get it.
That's right. What if it comes on your Windows 10 machine and you don't sign in with a Microsoft account?
When you try to open it, it requires you to sign into your
Right.
Microsoft account.
So basically, OneNote mandates a Microsoft account.
And if you want to use the features of sharing, you want to be able to access it from anywhere and all of that, it's got to be on OneNote. It's got to be on OneDrive.
Well, that's the feature of OneDrive.
That's one of the, now you can store it locally, but you can only get to that notebook on your local drive, but you still have to
I
have
haven't even tried
Microsoft.
to do that, so.
What?
I haven't tried to do that.
I've done it. But I would recommend just kind of starting with something you're familiar with and you want to do, like you want to do a photo album, you want to do a recipe box, or whatever makes sense to you, a to-do list, so you can remember what you're sending your wife to the hardware store to get. And you can keep adding while she's going to the hardware store for you, and then she can look it up when she gets there on her phone.
And it has a built-in tutorial. Windows 10 version has, you already have a notebook called Getting Started, or OneNote Basics or something like that. They pre-create.
Now, one of the things you can do, I don't know if any of you noticed, but up at the top here, you see the little arrows in the TOC? Okay, that's my forward and back button. That's what I was doing. If I actually take this and look at this,
What's TOC stand for?
table of contents.
Okay. I sure don't have that on mine.
No, because that's something I created. That's how I'm manipulating. That's a link that I'm telling it where to go to when I click on that. So if I click on Start here in the table of contents, it'll take me to this screen that we had at the first.
He did like a PowerPoint with OneNote.
Okay.
So then I've got forward, I can go back, and those are just links that I tell it when I tell it what I want that to go to, it can go there.
I think we need to take questions now.
Now, my first question is, do you want me to do any more next month or not?
I would like more, but I'd like it at a very basic level, showing us how to do something.
I think your intention of doing basic this month went way over everybody's head.
Yes.
Okay, I mean, I'd be,
Because you did too much.
okay, well, I tried
What
to,
I would have done is use the online version and built a notebook from scratch.
well, except that then you're not gonna, if all you see is the little simple things like that, you're not gonna realize what
That's
the
the
potential
basics.
is.
Most kids that learn to ride a bike use training wheels, that's
Okay, well,
basics.
I mean,
We
I'd be
need the
happy
training
to,
wheels.
I'll be happy
Not that
to,
we're kids.
I would be
Yes,
happy
I
to
am.
go in and start building a single notebook. We'll do sections, we'll name them, we'll move them, we'll do all the little basic things for sections, pages, and a single notebook.
But do something that kind of, a to-do list or a recipe book or something that we can all relate to.
Okay. I mean, I know I covered a lot of stuff, but
Yeah, you did.
I think I'm kind of advanced, and you went over my head. I did
I
the
use
Windows
one.
N, and I haven't been able to find any of those things I created.
Because
They
I
all
don't do it
disappeared.
to the depth you covered the basics for Jerry.
and based on David's statement,
Tony Dale has a lot lower level of basic.
David, one of the things that I'm getting from you is that would be beneficial to you is to figure out where things are at.
Yes.
Okay?
I lost everything I did tonight. I saved notes of what you were doing, and they disappeared.
In OneNote, they never truly disappear, it just
I don't know how to find them.
hit into the doggone thing.
And I can cover that next.
91 days.
I will cover that in the next meeting after we've, as part of that basic setting up so you know where to find things.
I think using the online version, which everyone would have access to,
Would be more helpful.
then people can get the gist of OneNote. As opposed to the
Advanced.
desktop program, which is like
Okay, you're saying the web version versus
The
the
web
app
version is much simplified and everybody can get to it. There's not anybody that can't get to the one.
Okay, I mean, I can do it in there, I don't have a
Because
problem. I
even if
use
you
it.
do the Windows 10 version, there are people that still have Windows 7. And they can't get that version on Windows 7.
And if you've got an Apple Mac, you can also get.
They can also get the web version, right?
Okay.
Everyone can get the web
Then
version.
if that's what, I'm willing to do what you guys want
Yeah, I
me to
think that would
do.
work. I think that would work.
So if I do that and then show you how to find things after they're put in there,
That would be a win.
Yeah, so David can find his notes.
Yeah. I want to find the notes I wrote tonight. I wrote a lot of good notes.
They're somewhere on the internet.
I do exactly the same thing. I'll put something in there, and I'm like, that's why, and no knock against Microsoft OneNote, but I use Google Keep because it makes it a whole lot easier for me to find what I've created.
That's it. I like Keep, and I also use Evernote because I've been using it for years. It was
See, in Evernote,
first
I've never got used to.
David, go open a OneNote notebook on your device and use the search for the word and have it search through all notebooks, and then you'll find out where your notes went.
Okay.
So, any questions? Because it's time, looking at what we've got laying around, we need to start cleaning up.
I just want to know when
'Cause we got to be out the door before
when
now.
Barbara's going to show up that we delayed for her.
She's not coming because there's no extra chairs.
Okay. We have 3 chairs up there.
There's some in the corner.
You hear that, Barbara? We waited for you and you never showed up.
Dave still has his tongue out.
She is in training for her new job. She's learning how to be a Mac or an Apple home care technician.
Oh, I feel sorry for her.
I know. They gave her a Mac computer and they've been training her for about a week or so.
She's not going to learn in a week.
Okay. Hey, thanks, Jerry.
I like it,
Thanks for making my headache get worse.
One thing I mentioned to Tyrone a little bit ago, OneNote, they have training for it also online. There's a lot of
Now, a link to that.
classes.
A link to that would be helpful. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot, but I've always been scared each time I try to learn OneNote because there's so much to it. And I want to learn it all in one
Well, that's
session.
it.
And I think what Dale said, we
This is
start
fine.
with the most basics, get a comfort
They have
zone.
them all.
That's what I will do in the next meeting.
Yeah,
I'm
very
gonna
basic.